population couldn't be that big of a deal. There was a gorilla that had that could speak sign language and had a several hundred word vocabulary. I can't
lots
imagine
of chimps.
you can't get a
Lots of chimps have been taught sign language too.
So is it fact or crap?
It's crap. It is not possible for chimpanzees to speak English or any other human language because their vocal cords and throats are very different from ours. Some have learned to use their hands to speak in American Sign Language, and some have been trained to use specially designed computer keyboards. So it's not a matter of they can't learn words and what words mean. They just physically cannot speak the way we do.
Man.
Oh, how about
that
this
sounds
one?
like a challenge. I'm going to get a chimp.
Yeah. How about this?
I can't wait to see Osborne with a baby chimp hanging around his neck.
I bet Osborne is going to know the answer to this one.
And a little silver glove.
Oh, if you're just joining us, I just started a recording. I forgot to record the first segment of the second hour. So this is, that's okay. I got it. No, I got it for the podcast.
Oh,
good. It's fine. We just don't have video of it. Okay. This is something we do during our commercial breaks now called Fact or Crap to entertain you, the YouTube audience. So, Cory, you got another one?
Fact or crap, France was the first country to make a full-length feature film. I am going to go with fact. I'm going to guess that's a fact.
I always thought that D.W. Griffith was the first person who directed a feature-length film.
It's possibly that's true.
Wasn't it Intolerance, or what's the other one, Birth of a Nation?
Birth of a Nation, maybe. But I'm going to go with, it might have been George Méliès in France.
Yeah, maybe some of those French, what was it called? It's not Idealism. It was German, what was the German one?
Francocentrism, is that what you're talking about?
No, the German's filmmaking style, like Fritz Lang, and what was that, German Expressionism?
Yeah.
Okay. The French had their own, but maybe... Go ahead, Cory.
Turns out it's crap, and it's not the country you think it is. Australia led the way to longer movies worldwide with The Story of the Kelly Gang in 1906. A movie about a famous Australian bushranger, which is an outlaw living in the Australian bush, not what it sounds like, named Ned Kelly. You may have heard of him. Clocking in at just over an hour.
What did you think a bushranger was?
Like an official, like a park ranger, but for the bush.
That's what it sounded like to me.
Yeah, but it turns out, no, it's an outlaw living in the Australian bush. And when I think ranger, I usually think of somebody who's some kind of authority over a wild area.
I got you.
That's what I was thinking. So yeah, The Story of the Kelly Gang, 1906, about Ned Kelly, who has had other movies made about him.
I like bushranger. You know how sometimes people say, hey, sport, or governor?
Yeah, people do say that all the time here.
I'm going to do bushranger.
How's it hanging, bushranger? I like it.
I like it too.
We're taking it back.
Name of a porn.
Yes, it does.
I was doing dishes today. And I picked up a spoon that had peanut butter on it, and I go, dirty peanut butter spoon. And I said, that's the name of some kind of sexual thing.
Yeah, we need to come up with a definition of that and put it on Urban Dictionary.
All right,
next to Brazilian meat lunch.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to School Sucks Live. This is Brett, and with me in the studio tonight, we have Cory and Osborne on the phone, Ian and Mark out in Keene, the hosts of Free Talk Live. We have been talking about incentive parenting and punishments and rewards, carrots and sticks. And where did we leave off?
I think I was talking about the conundrum of how do you get a child to stop certain behaviors? You know, like, for example, the example I actually used was, how do you get your child who's 2.5 to stop throwing his toothbrush in the toilet? I think in that particular, that's only one example of a specific behavior, but in that case, you don't hand him a toothbrush near an open toilet, because he doesn't, especially if a child hasn't been potty trained yet, he's not going to understand why the toilet is not a place you want to put your toothbrush. But he wouldn't put his toothbrush down the back of a loaded didiaper, I wouldn't imagine.
Yeah, well, so if you've got a 2.5-year-old who isn't potty trained, you're probably doing something wrong as well.
Well,
I don't know about that.
I think there's a range. There's a range for that. I was 11.
Oh,
so
I'm not going to say I didn't wet the bed when I was 10 years old or anything, but
that's when you're
I did
asleep.
understand
Really
how to use the toilet. Yes,
right.
So Mark had asked a question that we didn't have a chance to answer, and he if we're in that part of this discussion, if this doesn't work, what would work? And it's a very difficult question to answer, and it's different for every family, for every child. But for you, Mark, I have some questions that we can start with, and I'd be interested in your thoughts.
Okay,
maybe that
because this is really where what I think that the frustration comes down with when folks say that say spanking doesn't work, or you shouldn't spank, or you shouldn't use timeout, or you shouldn't prescribe these kind of things, and it's then the parents are left with, well, then what?
Okay, well, so here's.
But I think it's a fair question, and I think the important thing is like beginning to consider the possibility that there might be another way. Because asking if I can't spank my kids, then what do I do? It's kind of like asking who would build the roads.
I get that, and I'm sure some parents can't imagine another way. Laura and I are constantly trying to think of other ways.
Right.
We're looking at this child rearing thing as, to some extent, an experiment for our lives. I mean, this is an edification tool for ourselves.
Sure.
I
think the main question is: Are you interested in brainwashing and programming your kid, or are you actually interested in them learning? And I think that's where this incentive question comes down to.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that manipulating behavior is not going to, if we're only focused on effects, manipulation of behavior, which I believe punishments and rewards to be, are not going to have positive long-term outcomes. So, when we can use Mark as an example here for some of these questions, in your dealings with your son, Mark, when some kind of disciplinary action needs to be taken, or just in interactions in general, what is your intention? To be right, to get him to do what you want to do, or is it more about connection and mutual understanding?
Well, I'd certainly like him to do what I'd like him to do of his own accord. I mean, isn't that what everybody wants in life, is for other people to do what they want them to do, and to do it happily? Smile when you do what I want you to do. But I mean, that's what I want from the id of me. But, sure, I want the situations that's going to allow us to live the best life together. We're going to be in the same house for quite some time, and I want him to love me and all the things that parents want. But at the same time, I'm pretty strongly of the opinion that that one needs manners in order to function in society well, and that if one has those, that one can get so many things that one wants.
Okay.
Hey, Brett, we got dead air.
Pardon me?
Oh, you're back. Okay, I don't know what happened, but we had dead air.
Oh,
Sorry,
my.
Go ahead.
Okay, for how long?
Several seconds. I'm not sure what happened there.
Oh,
Anyway, you're all right.
We heard Mark talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It wasn't over the Skype. I think it was over LRN.
LRN was having dead air.
Oh,
So
yeah. I don't know.
Something happened. I don't know what it was.
Okay.
There's a red flashing light in the studio, and it always upsets Ian.
Do you? Here's another question. Do you want Jack to be, as far as motivation is concerned for his actions, do you want them to be extrinsic? Based on, if I do this, I get this, or if I don't do this, this bad thing happens to me. Or do you want, his actions ideally to be based on intrinsic motivators, more feelings and needs?
I don't know that I entirely understand the question. I mean, I want him to. Certainly, I mean, everybody, the right answer is intrinsic, but the real answer is that I make all kinds of choices based on extrinsic factors all day long. So I think the answer for me is I want him to, at the very least, understand what these extrinsic motivators are, and that there are extrinsic motivations. I mean, am I going to deliver my son up into his adulthood at 12 years old, or whatever age one decides that adulthood is? And I think 12 years old is pretty close. Okay. Am I going to deliver him with the inability to even understand extrinsic motivations?
Sure. So what are some examples? You say you deal with this all day long in your life. What do you mean?
If I go too fast in the car, somebody's going to give me a ticket. If I, don't behave the way, behave within certain means with my wife, she's going to leave. If I drink Diet Coke, and have a caffeine overload, I'm going to say words and things that are going to make people not want to hang around me.
But your life, I mean, the fact that you interact with the people you interact with, the fact that you have a wife, those all came from your needs, your feelings that you wanted to get met, right? The fact that you go places, that you have a car, that you live in a house, that you have a job. I mean, those were all things that weren't like, well, geez, I better get started pleasing other people here. Those were all about your own intrinsic motivations that made your life, in most of what it is, possible.
I don't think I understand, Brent. I mean, I absolutely said to myself, if I want to have a good life, I need to serve other people.
You have said that?
Absolutely. That's Zig Ziglar's shtick. He says that if you want to have a good life, serve other people.
But what's in it for you? I mean, it's not like it's not self-sacrifice.
A good life.
You give people what they want, they give you what you want. That's always how I've lived my life.
Right. So that's a win-win situation.
Right.
Now, what I'm kind of getting into here is more in the realm of, we get away from the practical, we get away from these moral judgments, you're bad if you do this kind of stuff, and we're getting more into, I hate to say it, guys, like nonviolent communication, unconditional parenting stuff. And
I'm interested in these things. I just, Brent, I'm frustrated because I don't get them. I talk to some of the smartest people I know about some of these subjects, and I'm left going, because I don't understand. I mean, I've listened to wes-bertrand, at least some of his audio, and man, I just love the sound of the guy's voice. But I don't understand.
Yeah. Well,
I don't understand.
I think the problem with Mark is that he doesn't understand what we're talking about because he's not someone who treats his son like a jackass.
right.
So he doesn't get why we're saying what he's doing is wrong.
I'm not saying that at all, I
We're not
hope.
saying what he's doing is wrong.
I don't think that you are saying that. I think you're saying that there's different ways to go about doing this parenting thing, and that it might be better, and perhaps you can try it out. And I'm willing to do that. I just don't understand what you're saying.
Maybe my parents ultimately failed because I've got a real authority problem, and I don't like backing down when I'm told what to do now, and I get myself arrested for it.
I mean,
Do you guys want to hang with us for one more?
we're gonna have to.
All right.
We're
We
not
will
resolved
be
here.
right back on School Sucks Live with Mark and
Poor
Ian.
wife.
He's asleep.
Hold on.
hard to find anything to disagree on.
Yeah, it's going. Yeah, okay. Cory, fact or crap?
Okay, fact or crap? Cliff Bar Incorporated was started by a disgruntled power bar executive.
Oh, I want to say crap.
All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say crap too. Cliff bars are nothing but candy bars.
Hold on one second. Let's just see what people.
What are power bars?
They're a little better than a candy bar.
A little better.
Sarah says crap. She's the only one who's responded so far.
I know that power bars are crap.
Oh, while we're on the break here, I couldn't bring this up in the show, but one of the Ustreamers say, Mark, I've just got a picture of you guys. I made a little still graphic, a picture I found just by doing a Google image search.
Just
for
tell
Free
him
Talk
I'm
Live.
the good-looking one.
It says, Mark and Ian look so young in that picture.
It's probably the
It was taken yesterday.
It's black and white.
Oh man,
Yeah,
that's
one-
old school.
yeah.
You're both
about
wearing
7
white
years
shirts. An
old.
old-timey photo. It's a tin type, actually.
And I think that my neck is photoshopped in it. It got rid of the pelican neck.
What's pelican neck? Like a long, skinny one?
No, it's
With-
just
with,
kind of
like,
like
loose
there's a little
flesh.
droopy there, like a second, working on a second chin, trying to grow a second chin.
So Carrie hasn't got you guys to go get new promo shots done?
Well, she has almost scared Ian enough to get it done.
Oh, okay.
Actually, she shot down my idea, and she hasn't come up with as far as posing and what the ways we'll go about doing it. She shot it down, and she hasn't come up with anything else. So.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Oh God,
We're supposed to be a young talk show. Makes us look younger.
All right.
You do look young there, both of you.
So,
you're not that
Probably
Ian.
24.
Oh yeah.
so Cliff Bars?
Somebody says crap, and they Sarah, I think one of our listeners.
Osborne says crap. Who else? Somebody else said crap.
Power bars are crap.
Oh, that's
I
true.
don't know if the statement is crap.
All right, so anyway, it is crap. Cliff Bar Incorporated was founded by a disgruntled energy bar consumer who was unhappy with the quality and texture of what he had been eating. When he
the
couldn't,
texture certainly is better.
yeah, what he says when he couldn't bring himself to eat his last energy bar after a 175-mile bike ride, Gary Erickson decided to come up with something better. So his mother helped him bake a bar that they thought would be tastier.
Coming
It's
back.
certainly tasty.
North America. All you need is a view of the southern sky, an affordable receiver, and a dish as small as 30 inches. There are no monthly fees. Learn more at sat.lrn.fm. Plus, if you're a broadcaster or want to be one, this is a good delivery method for our content. See our coverage map and get details at sat.lrn.fm. That's sat.lrn.fm.
Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded
That
in
guy
June
always tricks me.
2009 with
We're
the
not back.
mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement.
What's that guy's story?
And is committed
Zeus.
to spreading the message
Zeus.
of peace,
He's pretty awesome.
love,
Free Dog Live. Yep.
FPP
No,
also
I
gives
can't
new
do it.
authors
I recorded a whole
an avenue for
promo in that
publishing
voice one time.
freedom-oriented material.
What, this
FPP
voice?
brings you daily news and commentary on the
Zeus.
website fpp.cc,
In a world.
as well as
In
weekly
a-
news in the FPP Freedom Minute.
I can't hear it.
Oh, who can't hear it?
Sorry, I'm playing a video here.
Oh, sorry.
Just uploaded my arrest video.
Oh, well, I'm glad you get out.
Find FPP online at
it's
In an
gonna be on.
expedient way.
Also, find us on Facebook.
It certainly was expedient for the government. It took all day, but I did get out without having to spend the night in jail.
Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
You can sign up to receive the latest.
That's the one. You can sign up to receive the latest whatever.
And that means we're coming back.
That's updates.lrn.fm.
Hey everybody, welcome back to School Sucks Live. We've got just a little bit of time left. We still have Mark and Ian with us out in Keene. In the studio here with me tonight, Cory and Osborne. We've been talking about punishments and rewards, carrots and sticks, the work of Alfie-Kohn, a little bit of spanking, and we're moving on now into some talk about nonviolent communication and unconditional parenting, which is a new book by Alfie-Kohn. I can't do it justice in 2 segments on this show. I would direct people to, as Mark mentioned, Wes-Bertrand's work. He did a whole series on it on his podcast, Complete Liberty. But Mark, you were saying that you were having these conversations with peaceful parenting, unconditional parenting folks, and you felt like you were walking away generally unsatisfied?
Generally so. I've listened to the wes-bertrand's Complete Liberty podcast, and I don't listen to every one of them by any stretch of the imagination. I pop in, I pop out. I hear things like
Sorry,
this.
guys.
I hear things like what you're saying tonight. There. I listen to School Sucks. I hear things like what you're saying tonight there at School Sucks. I've talked to Stephanie, my co-host on Sunday evenings on Free Talk Live, and you can find that at freetalklive.com. And I always get these sort of, the way that people go about parenting today is bad, and using incentives is bad, and of course spanking is bad, and all these things. What I never hear is other ways to go about doing it, easily implementable ways to do those things. And it's frustrating.
Yeah, well, I think that's the problem. Is it's not easy, right, to have relationships with people.
Yeah.
Right, especially ones who are in their formative times.
Right, because these aren't relationships. I mean, relationships go 2 ways, and I'm frankly, my child does not care what I think most of the time. Like, he cares what he thinks. He thinks it's a good idea to spray water out on the floor of the tub. If I came in and say, Jack, my need for a dry floor isn't being met, and I have a deep concern that the drywall in the bottom layer of the house is going to fall in, and it's going to cost me thousands of dollars.
Jack doesn't understand mold.
He's going to turn the hose on me.
I don't know. I don't see that as a conversation that you can't have. I mean, like I have those conversations with Lysander. He's 2.5 years old, and maybe he doesn't get every word that I'm saying to him, but it doesn't stop me from having the conversation with him, because at some point he's going to get it.
And Mark, I hope it's okay that I say this, but like one of the things that I hear just a little bit like is like some resignation on your part. Like I wouldn't even bother to try and do something like that.
I'm going to walk in the bathroom and go, Jack, what the heck are you doing? Don't put that back. You can't spray water outside the tub. And then I may explain to him as I'm having him help me to clean up the mess, because that's what I always do. Although I always end up, seems like, cleaning up more than he does, because he's slower than I am. I'm going to try to explain to him what can happen, but I don't think he understands the consequences or necessarily even knows what drywall is.
Okay, so then what do you do?
Well, I think the one thing that's happening there is that he is learning that he made a mess, and you should clean up your mess. And I think that's what he's learning in that case. He may not understand why that mess is a bad thing, why it might damage the walls or the floor or whatever, or somebody might slip and fall. But he does learn, and I think this is a good lesson for a child to learn. If you make a mess, you need to help clean it up.
There's going to be destruction that occurs along this path. I mean, there's no way around it.
I gotcha. And there's going to be some yelling that goes along on the path too.
Sure.
I've heard him do it before. This situation's actually happened where he's taking the directional spout thing from the shower and spraying it on the floor of the bathroom. And I have a wood floor house, so the water can just go through the cracks. I do have some in the bathroom. I do have some caulking in there. The black rubbery caulk, big black caulk, and in the bathroom along the floor there. And, in order to prevent some of that, but, I go in and Jack, and he goes, what? He's just been spraying around the side of the tub and in different places. And, now let's spray it over here.
Well, I want to go back to something that you said. Sorry, did you have something to say, Osborne, real quick, or did I hear somebody go?
Yeah. Well, I think the situation you just described and your reaction to it, I think that's a reasonable reaction.
I still don't hear any disagreement here.
Yeah.
So
we're actually not disagreeing, I don't think, on this as much as we think we are.
We've been talking for an hour and a half now, and I still haven't heard any disagreement that would cause you to disparage us on your show.
I didn't feel like they were doing that. I didn't get why I sounded like Kermit the Frog. It was not a good impression of me at all. I don't sound anything like that. In fact,
School Sucks podcast.
Yeah, during our pre-show, I tried to
the studio
craft a Mark Edge impression that sounds nothing like him. But
well, that turnabout is fair play, Brad.
What's that?
You got to get nasally to be Mark Edge impression.
No, because yours sounded nothing like me, so mine will be something.
Hi, I'm Mark Edge. I'm a super genius. It just sounds like a different Muppet.
It sounds nothing like you. Yeah, that does sound kind of like a Muppet too. But
Did you say I'm Mark Edge? I'm a super dick.
No. I said super genius. That's a thing that Mark Edge says. I'm a beautiful man. I'm a super genius. Those are things that he's known for saying.
By the way, did not say, hi, I'm Brad Bernard. I just said, this was sort of random hippie A suggesting how to go about raising your child.
Sure. Now, I want to just jump back to the thing, because I heard there was kind of a dust up a while back when Ian suggested that, or asked the question, I don't know if he actually suggested this, that nonviolent communication was like a therapeutic cult. And Mark, you said something a minute ago, like, you're not meeting my need for having a dry floor, which is kind of caricaturing it in a way that I really don't think is fair. And I think
it's not intended to be fair.
Sure. Oh, okay. And I think when people first hear this, I mean, like, based on the way that we're used to interacting with people, the lose-lose, win-lose types of situations, and the way we usually talk, especially if we're media producers and we have to talk in an engaging, confrontational, entertaining way like you guys do and we often do. Yeah, nonviolent communication sounds awkward. Corey, you said robotic. It sounds clunky. It's weird.
It sounds like a Mad Lib that you just take some standard sentences and you plug in the proper feelings.
But one of the aspects of a cult is is an organization that'll have its own jargons. This is one aspect, and I didn't let Ian get away with calling the whole nonviolent communications thing a cult. If you recall, I jumped right in and turned that around. I think I was pretty successful, but it does have that one aspect to it is what makes it sound culty is that it's jargony.
Okay, sure. Well, I mean, it's using words like feelings and needs a lot, which actually is what most of what we are doing in our lives is based on meeting. So, like, the questions I have for anybody who's, like, particularly right out of the gate dismissive of NVC, do you have emotional needs? The answer to that question for any person who is somewhat self-aware is yes. Is part of your time, question 2, is part of your time spent trying to get those needs met in your daily operations? The answer to those questions is yes. Question 3, then why not talk about it in a way that's win-win, mutually beneficial, where you're expressing these things? And so it goes to the same question is, what's your favorite type of outcome for an interaction? Win-lose, lose-lose, or win-win? So I think NVC is about expressing the things that's going on inside of all of us all the time, even if it is maybe a little awkward. And in fact, Wes and I were talking recently about better ways to do this. He pointed me to a couple books about what they call street giraffe or street NVC, which is kind of taking some of that awkwardness out of the language and the Mad Libs thing that Cory described and the jargon mark that you described. So I think that I originally said to Wes, look, I'm doing a show where I'm trying to entertain people and I need to be caustic and I need to be confrontational. And I know you guys do too a lot on your show. And I don't see how to fit this into the way I talk on the show, but I think this is something that's very, very useful in real life. And I really encourage people who are parents to look into it. We've got one segment left. I encourage everyone to stick with us. We will be right back. This is School Sucks Live. And don't forget about our after show. We'll let Mark and Ian go, but we'll do another hour or so on schoolsucksproject.com/live. We'll be right back.
Did you know that Free Aid is a mutual aid, educational, and networking organization?
Might as well do the last one, right, guys?
You know, I'm sitting here. I'm embarrassed. I got my business partner. We've had the same damn music beds for nearly a decade now. Your guys' music beds are so much better.
It took a lot of to have all this kind of jam music on the way in and all these old school rap instrumentals on the way out. It took a lot of work. Because, like, I put the videos on YouTube, too, which I would... Do you guys record when you do use live stream? Are you recording your show? Or are you just streaming it?
I think the live stream is always recording. But I don't know.
I'm serious. I'll come out there and with my setup, and I'll film your show one night and put it on YouTube. I think that would be a great thing for you guys to have.
What the hell would anybody want to watch a 2-hour Free Talk Live for?
I don't know.
I'm telling you. There are people, because...
Creepers.
If people,
what the fuck? You got to be kidding me!
Well, when you turn on the television in the morning, there's all those talk shows on the television. They broadcast.
We don't even look at the camera.
Imus in the morning, and I don't know who else.
The other thing, this is something good that your old pal, I don't know if he was ever your pal, the Red Bar guy does on his show. He streams his whole show and records it, and if you're like a Barmy member, a subscriber, you can watch the whole show on their premium content section. But for every show, he cuts up like 3 or 4 minutes of something that's really funny and just puts it on YouTube as a promo.
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
I got no time for that.
Yeah, you need someone who can do that for you, which is not me. But I would do it once. So.
Yeah, well, you find somebody that's willing to do it at a price, and we'll talk.
We got a cool guy who runs the Free Talk Live YouTube channel that is kind of cutting things out and making his own stuff, and he's doing a good job.
Yeah,
I'll just let him do it.
That's good. I'm glad when
nobody looks at it.
What are you talking about?
It doesn't get that many views.
Well, so a lot of channels in the Liberty Movement don't get a lot of views. What do you expect?
More views.
I can't do anything on YouTube. I mean, I posted. I had one video that had 100,000 views, and all the other ones have like 6,000, 5,000. Then everything after that is like 200.
Yeah, that's more what we're talking about. We might even be in the dozens on some of these things.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be good to have like highlights, but it's the most time-consuming thing I've ever done with this show.
Here's what I think we should do on Free Talk Live is we should have Brett Vanoy on more often. Drive traffic.
Vanoy or Vanot?
Whatever. God, annoying French names.
You talk like a Muppet. You can't say your name.
Vano.
I'm happy to come out there anytime. I would love to do it. Never gotten to do it.
You don't need a damn invitation.
We're starting the Free Street Project. Pete and Clyde bought the house across the street.
Christ, Ian's trying to sell real estate now.
Osborne, the other house across the street.
Osborne does not want to live here. He had the opportunity to move here. He likes it in Manchester. You only moved here because of Russell Canning, and he's gone. Give it up.
You guys should all move to Osborne's neighborhood.
That one house that I saw in Keene, the taxes on that were $30,000 a year.
Woo!
Wow.
Yeah, Osborne lives in a nice house. It's new.
Yeah, so everyone should move to Osborne's neighborhood. Buy $500,000 house. Free neighborhood project.
That's not free.
$500,000 to live that close to each other.
Yeah, I know. Osborne has a nice neighborhood, though.
Yeah, one of these people on this street is going to go off and firebomb this house at some point. So
We've been egged before.
Oh, yeah.
I had
My peace flag stolen.
Hold on.
burning poo on my porch one time.
What's up next?
All right, we're back. Hold on.
What's up next? At shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to School Sucks Live. This is our last segment of the old regular show. Then you can join us at schoolsucksproject.com/live for the After School Sucks special.
Nice.
Indeed.
ASSS.
The After School Sucks special.
It is abbreviated.
I have been craving some
At
ass for a long time.
schoolsucks.live.com.
I want to say thank you to Mark and Ian from Free Talk Live, who have hung with us for the entire 2 hours tonight. I originally asked them on Facebook yesterday if they would mind, after doing 3 hours of their own show, doing 2 segments with us. So, guys, thank you so much for sticking with us.
No
this entire
problem.
time.
yeah, whatever.
All right. So, again, who's in charge of keeping track where we left off?
Is somebody in
Can't
charge?
be me, because I have no idea.
You have a notebook.
I know I do, but
I don't have a notebook.
it's useless. Well, we were when we went to break, we were talking a little bit about nonviolent communication and some of the perceptions when people are initially introduced to it. And Mark, you spoke to this right at the beginning of the show tonight. When people are attracted to some new idea and they first learn it and it's exciting, they really don't know how to share it with other people in an efficacious way.
Like the ideas of liberty, for instance.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I really struggled with that. And like your show was one of the first shows that really cemented this stuff for me many years ago. And when I first tried to go out on my own and have these conversations, boy, they didn't always go well. They never really go well, depending on who you're talking to. I mean, obviously, once I started doing this show, it changed. But go ahead.
I think I think the groundwork is laid long before we tried to do these things. I mean, this comes to mind. Rush Limbaugh's got the Limbaugh letter, right? He's been sending out this little newspaper thing that he's been making for years, and it's his advertisement when he plays it on the show. And I assume that means he didn't sell the advertising avail. His advertisement's like, "How to pwn liberals. Read the Limbaugh letter." And the suggestion is that you're going to somehow argue someone out of their position and into your position. And that just doesn't work.
Well, I mean, unless we go about it, I think, this third way. Now, Rush Limbaugh is, I don't even know what you would call what he does, right? Because he's not making, everything seems to be in politics, like the subtext, the meta talk is always like, I'm morally right and you're morally wrong.
Right.
But it's never outwardly stated, because it seems to be more about, I think the traditional left-right conversations are people just given issues by whatever their media of choice is, whatever their confirmation bias media of choice, whether it's Fox News on the right or the New York Times on the left, and they just kind of parrot stuff at each other, and those discussions really go nowhere. But one of the
copy and paste things onto their Facebook feed.
Yeah, but they're all just like, I was listening to the Bill Maher show, and it's just people throwing crap at each other.
People don't have discussions, generally speaking, from what I've been observing, and people are just waiting for their chance to talk so they can line up their next zinger.
But the interesting thing about Free Talk Live is that if you listen to these other talk radio shows, the Hannitys, the Rush Limbaugh, as Mark mentioned, or O'Reilly or whatever, if you disagree with them, you're finished. You're off the air. And you guys seem to give more time to people who are more confrontational.
Yeah, well, we get and we get critiqued for not letting them get full thoughts out or whatever. And I suppose it's true. You tend to get ramped up when somebody else is ramped up. Oftentimes, I try so hard to be peaceful, because I think that you can really control the conversation when you're under control. But
Right, like the other night where you were shouting like a madman, and I was totally cool.
Go fuck yourself.
Oh my goodness, we're on the radio. Or no, we're not. Is it okay? Can we swear?
It's up to you. There's a station in Oklahoma City that has been taking some, like a pirate station, that has been taking some, an FM pirate station that has been taking some of our
Sorry to all
shows.
the people listening on broadcast airways, because I know your ears are more sensitive than the people who listen on YouTube or their MP3 players and all those other things. So
He
my deepest
called
apologies.
one day, and I didn't know they were airing stuff from LRN.FM, but he said that they were, and he named some of the shows. I don't know if he mentioned your show, but then again, you weren't on the air at the time, so that might have been a factor. And it was several of our shows, the ones that air in the middle of the day throughout the refeed versions of them, and he was taking pretty much all of them, so for like 3 to 5. And I believe your show is one of those shows. So I think it was your show, it was included. But anyway, he said that he was driving down the road and heard Ladies and Keen cursing up a storm, and it made him cringe because he's been on the air for over a year and the FCC hasn't visited him, and he was kind of nervous about it. And so I said to him I'd talk to the shows, but I can't control ultimately what they do. So, if it happens every now and then, it's no big deal. If you make a point of it, it might upset someone like that. I don't care personally as the program director of LRN.FM. It's a pirate network. Pirate stations should have, the occasional curse word. I don't think that's a problem personally, but it's up to you.
Well, I'm going to get this show up as quickly as possible without the F word in it, because the last show that I put out had a clip of Adam Carolla talking about his childhood, and he uses the F word quite a bit. He's got a really popular podcast too.
I mean, we air Puke in the Gang, which is a really, dirty show. Also, Penn Gillette's podcast is also pretty laden with expletives. So anybody that's running LRN.FM 24/7 is getting quite a bit of that.
All right, good. So that clears that up. We've got just a couple minutes left here. So any closing thoughts?
Anything we can disagree on, for God's sake?
Let's see. I feel like we could.
Before we close this thing out, I just want to say one thing.
Okay.
And that my favorite words that I hear from my kids are, I refuse. It just warms my heart so much every time those words come out of their mouth. Because
You're
I
raising
know
little dissidents.
Yes.
I mean,
because I know if they can say that to me at their age in these formative years, then how much more are they going to be able to say that to the state?
Just
when
think, Osborne, they
my
could grow
age?
up and be like me, where they get arrested at the town of Palmer offices, like I did today.
Yeah.
Refusing.
Good
let's
for
hope they're
them.
not trading video games for BJ's at 11.
I think if there was anything that we came close to disagreeing on, I think it's the notion that if we are going to present, this peaceful parenting idea in lieu of the way people are generally doing it now, then the thing we do disagree on is that if we're going to present that, then we need to provide an alternative.
As is true with anything that we're presenting to anybody.
Exactly. Which is like when I present the idea of a stateless society to someone who doesn't already believe that, their first question is, well, then what are you going to replace it with?
Well, I think
first of all, I don't see why you necessarily have to replace it with something in that case, but also it's pointless to talk about what you would replace it with unless we already agree that it needs to go.
I think there's also a degree of humility involved in this as well. Like to say, well, geez, I don't know how this would be built because I'm not an engineer.
That's
and
true.
If I wanted to pretend that I had every answer to every conceivable problem,
I would run for president.
I would be a politician. Right. So the ideas of liberty require some humility, and like this isn't about central planning. So if you want me to talk to you like a politician, there's plenty of people who will already do that. This is about something different.
Right.
And I think that a lot of these conversations that people have about parenting, where it's like, well, this worked for me. Things might have worked in the 50s or the 80s, but we need to keep evolving in that respect, especially if we want the things we were just talking about, like a stateless society, a voluntary world, to be possible someday. I really believe, the reason why I focused on people under 30 in this topic of school is because I really think that that's what needs to change. I have experience in education. I'm not a parent. I couldn't do a show about parenting, even though I think that that's probably more important. because after 5 or 6 years of, a domination system in the home, school makes perfect sense. And after 15,000 hours of that, the status quo, the state, also will make perfect sense. So, I think we need to work backwards and start with how children are raised and how children are treated. And we are about to run out of time on the regular show. So one more time, Mark and Ian, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. And just in case somebody stumbled across this on Ustream, has no idea about Free Talk Live, can you just give us a website and when you're on and all the particulars?
You can go to freetalklive.com. We're on 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 at night Eastern Time. And, of course,
we're on 114 radio stations and 2 XM channels.
That's right. And live, of course, on live streaming as well. Archives, podcast, it's all there, and it's all free.
And it's all thanks to Jason Osborne.
Osborne's a huge part of it. I don't think we could do it without him.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening to our show. Thanks again to Mark and Ian. Cory, Osborne, thanks for being here. We're going to take about a 5-minute break. Continue on Ustream only, where we do say the F word and other words.
We sure do.
And we encourage you to join us there if you've been listening on LRN, but also go to lrn.fm and check out all the great live programming and podcasts there as well. Give us 5 minutes. We'll be right back, and we'll take your calls at 843-JOIN-SSP. You can Skype in School Sucks Live. Thanks for listening to the regular show. I'm Brett. Have a good night. All right, guys, I'll let you go. I know you must be...
What if the key to achieving... Man, good night.
All right, have a good night. Thank you so much.
Thanks again. Who think like you. Liberty activists are joining the Free State Project, which is over half...
So they're going to stop making...